Hi Ramesh, morning.
Hello, good morning. Hi, welcome viewers and welcome to yet another episode of Reset to Zero. This is a podcast by Freshworks and myself, Ramesh and Sri, and we talk about everything under the sun and sometimes about product and everything else as well.
Yep.
So in today's edition, we're going to talk a lot. We're going to talk about what happened the last week.
Yes.
And we'll probably talk a little bit about product and stuff like that as we go. But I want to take you through the journey of what happened last week and happens right now, right, as we speak. So it was an exciting last week. We had our new people join High Performer. We had a beautiful photo shoot happen, and all of us actually own the t-shirt. We had a great, we have a lovely t-shirt, and there was team photos. It was really festive in this place that we were, and we all decided to go for dinner. So dinner was at 7:30, and just at about 7, it starts pouring. And by the time I go to the car, and we decided to get the people inside the car and go with them, it's pouring. My shoes were drenched, and I get into the car. Srivatsan drives past, and then I call Sri and I ask him if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, do we need to do this dinner today? It looks like it's going to pour. And she responds saying, hey, it's not often that we get the entire team here because we're a hybrid team. Let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
We go to this Asian restaurant, fantastic food, people love it. We had a great time. On the way back, I had to drop some of the folks nearby. Mind you, the restaurant is not too far away from here, it's just about 5 minutes drive. We took about 45 minutes to get back because the roads started getting flooded. And that's what happened for the entire weekend as well.
Yeah.
We had a tough time. Chennai had a tough time. We were in a deluge. We were literally blocked. We were at our homes.
Yeah.
A lot of things that happened. It's unfortunate that a city of this size has to undergo this climate change, where on one hand you have rising incomes, people spending a lot on their cars, on their apartments. The economy is supposed to be growing, but when it comes down to infrastructure development, it was pretty bad. It's pathetic. But how was it for you? We were fine. I was fine at my home, but it was very sad to see the kind of amount of water that some areas had, almost to the level of the necks. First floor apartments getting flooded.
Yes.
Right, and it was a sad scene. But thank God the city's gotten back. But how was your?
No, I think it was pretty bad. I mean, I think the last week, I would say 3 days were pretty tough, right? We kind of had to even spend a day without power, right? And 3 days without internet and all that stuff, right? But like you said, Ramesh, I think even though there's a lot of development happening, there's a lot of infra projects coming in, overall, if you see the city getting richer, bigger, and all of that, I think the urbanization has a role to play, right? More than anything else. And as we tout for some of these things, larger projects and all of that, I think we also have to remember that, hey, this is just a reminder for the climate change also is real, right? I would give it to that more than anything else. It's just like a knock-up. Hey, it's not about having high rises, like you said, amazing infra projects running in and all of that stuff. Beyond that, I think you have to be sensitive to the whole space, because Chennai is in a spot where it is like low-lying in that sense, going towards in between the ocean and the rest of the places, right, which is high-rise. So which means that Chennai needs to prepare itself for long haul. It shouldn't be a situation where 50 years from now, Chennai cannot be submerged in 3 feet of water, for every day. So that's the risk we have right now, if you ask me. I mean, I saw a report where good number of Indian cities on the coastal side have the same risk of getting submerged under the water for every day in the next, I would say, 50 years. So we've been looking at short term. I think I would urge everybody who can basically do whatever we can do is to think about it from a 50 year from now, what will happen. We don't want to see our cities underwater, right? So that's the place where we are, like how we are excited about economy, growing fast, India's fourth largest economy, huge infrastructure projects, all great things happening, but still climate change is real, right?
Real, unfortunately. Like
that's the way it is.
You can predict growth.
Yes.
You can't still predict climate, right? There's AI to predict growth. There's AI to predict your analytics, but there is no AI to predict exactly what's happening.
No, the exact impact of a cyclone is hard to predict now, because even though they're able to predict the cyclone is going, everybody knew that this is coming. We were prepared. A lot of people had essentials. Most of them had essential at home. We are more prepared than 2015 for sure, but outcome is pretty similar, which is
and especially when not taking away anything from the government, right? Or as harsh as we may get, they're trying in some sense. They have this huge stormwater drain project across the city. A lot of obviously people took the chance to give themselves a pat on the back, but it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
When people are not yet ready for this, the visuals are really poor. Srivatsan also showed us some pictures.
Yeah.
It's really bad. But the good part, coming to the good part is at High Performer, we continued shipping because we are a completely hybrid working company.
Yeah.
So we had people across India who still kept shipping on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so that was a good part.
People had, whoever had power and electricity, that's another thing we should all, I was just thinking, telling Ramesh as well, switch to solar, get into this whole, get a power all the time.
Self-sustaining.
Right? Wish we had a Starlink. I did subscribe to Starlink, but apparently it didn't happen.
Right.
My liking. But some of these things are becoming very essential. As part of the essential list today, I think we had power in the past, but now internet is becoming super important as well, right? But like you said, Ramesh, even though things were down in some part of a team had go through. In fact, I was disconnected for 2 days, right? But still, the team was up and running.
Yeah.
They were building things. In fact, as we speak, we're working on a freemium plan as well, right? Things were working. We're fixing bugs from our existing customers. So, which is a good thing of being in hybrid setup. I think if you had asked me 3-4 years back, would you work, from home? I would have looked at it very differently, right? I think we've adapted to the change. And for a startup of our size, we better be prepared for a hybrid working setup. And this
beyond the reins.
Beyond, of course. Maybe for anything else, right? Things are becoming a little bit out of control sometimes. But the best way to really mitigate some of these things is to have a remote setup where you have people can work from, remotely at their own facilities, right? That's a good thing. The whole thing. And which enabled us to ship things. We were not really shutting down as a team, right? Which is the best thing happened, right?
Correct. So,
and that's where the whole thing stops, right? So it's better from day one you plan for these things. These things will happen. It probably might happen more often than what we thought. This is more frequently than happening in the last 10 years than the rest of my life, right?
Correct.
Which means that we should basically, a startup, we should be prepared for these things happening more often, right? And how do we do it? One of the ways that I think COVID has taught us,
absolutely,
to be able to distribute it, have your workspace, workplace and team also be more collaborative from day one. That is so that they can start shipping, they continue kind of working on things what you love.
Yeah, so
right?
that, as we go hybrid and as we talk about how can we keep shipping daily, and Shiva just spilled out the beans a little bit when he said, hey, we're working on a freemium plan. And so I just thought that in this podcast, we can talk about a lot more about PLG, product-led growth.
Okay.
Yeah, Srivatsan, you build products, right? You led a BU at High Performer. We are trying to be a PLG kind of company as well.
Yes.
So let's talk about PLG, product-led growth, what it means. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
So starting with the first question, you said freemium. So what's the difference between a freemium and PLG, or is it a part of it, or how does it go?
No, I think if you just step back, Ramesh, right? What is PLG? Did it even exist 10 years back?
Yeah.
Right. It did exist. For the last 10, 12 years, right? Of course, it's very popular now in the last 3-5 years time, right? If you take a step back and look at it, 10, 12 years back when HubSpot was launched, right, or 20 years back when HubSpot, they started doing this slowly, right? Companies like HubSpot, Atlassian, which had the whole sign up, through inbound, right? They basically started, putting the product up front and putting their sales teams behind, right? That's a whole transition happened, and today a lot of startups and SaaS companies, big or small, all sizes, who basically are targeting SMB, through inbound motion, are looking at PLC pretty seriously. Primarily because they are trying to go at scale, where you would wanted your customer who's trying your product to discover the product capabilities, use it on their own, and once they find the value, you believe that the chances of they becoming your customer is higher. That's the whole rationale behind product-led growth. So premium plays a part of it.
Okay.
Right? It's part of it's one of the elements of how you probably do PLG. Right? So what is premium? There are there are two ways to do it. One is that you will give them a trial period of 7, 14, 21 or 30, whatever. And there are also products which give you 90-day trial. So give a trial, where customer would use your product. Typically, it would be a full feature product, right? You will expose all the capabilities, in one shot. In case of freemium, you would give them a customer a free forever, but you would give them a very basic product, right? But the intent there also is to basically help customer use it, get into the habit of using the product, and then you believe that, hey, they would look at your advanced features over a period of time, and you believe in expansion. That's the difference between a free trial based PLG versus a freemium based. That's a nuance of that.
That's interesting. Like you said, why freemium is important, and you also said, Srivatsan, that typically PLG as a motion is built for when you put the product in front and sales behind. And you also mentioned that predominantly when companies are going behind smaller businesses, SMBs, isn't PLG not applicable for larger products or bigger companies?
Possibly applicable, but I think end of the day, in larger companies, customers targeting niche spaces and niche products. Right? See, PLG is all about making a product easy to try. So when the product itself is addressing a complex use cases, right? PLG might not even affect that. And that's where product managers have to be sensitive on understanding, hey, is your product really a PLG worth it, right? Because that's a very important question to ask. It has to be pretty simple, straightforward use case, for the customer to try and use it. And you might have a very complex product, but you should be able to break them into, I would call them as product loops, simple product loops, which customer can try and use, but still find useful. That's very, very important. If for you to build a product, if you build a product and for the customer to kind of realize the value and to find it useful, if it takes 20 things to be done, then PLG is not appropriate for that particular product because of that, the complexity, which is fine. Meaning not every product needs to be a self-serve in nature, right? There are products which would need onboarding.
So what you're saying, it will start with SMBs, or it will start within an organization.
Correct. Smaller teams,
and then go, if need be, also expand across.
Correct. And also, most important thing is that this is going to work well for your person of customers who have appetite to try the product on their own, right? If you're targeting a CIO, if your product is a CIO product where the CIO himself is not going to try the product, or you're targeting a product which is a CFO, specifically a dashboard for a CFO, then you cannot basically, most of the CFOs or the CA might not have the time. They might have the intent, but they might not have the time and the energy for the appetite for that. So that's an important thing to understand, right? You cannot be niche, but you have to go look at large scale. If you're looking at large scale, the customer acquisition, where you're trying to sell online and the customers come inbound, that is where you need to apply PLG.
So, right? Inbound is where you look at PLG, right? That's what
inbound specifically is where you look at PLG, right?
Okay, that's a great point. So, how do you make this PLG work? When you decide that I'm going to give, this company who's probably using our product is worth it, is worth going after or becoming a customer. So, what are the entry points? Like, if I were to talk about, do you have a matrix on how you look at PLG? Do you have a flow to say, this is how I'm going to build a PLG product? What goes behind it?
So I think, from what I've learned the last, I would say, decade or so, right, building multiple SaaS products, specifically targeting inbound, I think I would put in a framework of three key steps, right? One is remove the entry for barrier. How do you do it? I will talk about that in a while. But end of the day, when a customer signs up for your product, remove the entry for barrier.
What is entry?
It has to be simple, so simple, right? People have to be able to sign in within a single click. Don't put a large form in the front, right? Which is to know about the customer, right? If possible, do integration with the Clearbit or do integration with other data sources to understand the customer, and don't ask the questions which you can remove by automation. Remove the barrier.
What are some bad questions to ask? When you're talking
in general, there's no good or bad question, Ramesh, but the question is that how do I feel as a customer when I sign up? Do I feel it overwhelming? So I would say I will do it later. If you have questions in the first two screens which gives you that feeling as an end user, then it's a no. It doesn't matter what question you ask. It could be a very simple question. You can put all yes or no questions and give me 15 questions. It gives me the same feeling. You can give me one question which I have to go back, look at something else and fill in there. It's the same effect.
So when you're going to the website and say sign up take them into the product instantly, right?
Instantly do it, right? And then that way you can also kind of target your customers very well. Well, I'll give an example of what we're trying to do in the high performer. Time has to say how it would work. When you come to high performer, you sign up. We don't put a form there to sign up.
Yeah.
We know we're targeting Twitter audience right now.
Yes.
We just get them sign in with the Twitter, and through Twitter integration, we get to understand about the customer a little bit. Then we do enrichment, and then we get them into the product.
How do you get to know the customer? Of who the customer is beyond? Like when you say we get to know the customer, how does that happen?
See, simple example in our case is that since we integrate with Twitter, we get information about the person. We understand their the past tweets and all of that. We do the magic on the AI side, understand their persona a bit, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you could use products like Clearbit, all the other, the full contact of the world to enrich the data. Instead of asking the form to be filled by the user, if you need name, first name, if they give an email ID, you can get it. Use integration or the sign up with Gmail. You'll get the same information out. That's how you basically remove the entry barrier. And more importantly, build the product for a single user.
What does it mean?
So if you're building a product, right? I'll give an example, right? When you build a product, don't put features which needs, let's say, 3 people in the team to use the product from day one, right? Which means that I have to invite you, and I have to convince you to get your time to use the product. Only then the whole value of the product will show up. So instead, if I'm signing up, right? I'm signing up. I'm a salesperson, for example. Put things which are important. Can help me import the data. It could be from CSV, could be from existing CRM. Then kind of help me, be able to connect my Gmail so that I can get my data again from the Gmail. Now, help me send a bulk email in a single click. See the whole contacts in a list view, right? Understand the statuses which I have for for my sales pipeline. Automatically create them in the CRM. So that way, the barriers to entry is easy. And then I get into the habit now. The reason why a salesperson would show up in a CRM is to basically send them an email. So now get to that quickly, right? And then see if I can reply. I can see the replies. See if I can get some insights on that. Hey, I know that Ramesh, I sent an email to Ramesh and he opened the email. Send the notification. So these are the value I can show.
Very interesting that you're talking about. So first you're saying, when you say remove all kind of entry barriers, don't ask them too many questions and ask them to fill a lengthy form.
Correct.
Get to the context. So context is very important of who the person
Context is very important.
Right? And then second, you're saying make it extremely easy for them and give them an experience of wow when you're kind of auto importing some of their content. Just take permission now, auto import their permission, their contacts or whatever that you do, and that gives them. But how do you, if I'm a user, right, and I have no idea about how the software works, right? I was probably not even in the market to buy a software, but this kind of software really was something, because it's a productivity tool, right? Any productivity and workflow tool is something that people would want to buy. But how would you kind of differentiate it between a user who's probably used a different product, maybe a competitor's product versus your product, versus me being the first time user? How do you navigate that through a PLG? How would you know that these are first time users, so let's take them, handhold them in terms of onboarding? Whereas someone who already knows that, hey, I know this screen, I know what needs to be done.
Correct. So see, there are multiple things, right? So the first thing is you remove the barrier. And I said, how do you do it? You invest in the product. You make it easy to discover, simple to use, right? Deliver quick value, or at least try to deliver quick value, and offer contextual help. And this is on the Now, the next bit, which naturally, Ramesh, what you're asking is to try to personalize the user experience. How do you do it? Try to ask a simple onboarding quest. Right? Very, very simple functional question, which is more about use case and not about the customer. Right? Typically, if you look at all the products, if you go sign up for, let's say, 10 SaaS products, 6 to 7 would ask about you, which typically you're not comfortable doing. But ask about the use case you're trying to solve. Right? That will help you understand the customer's use case.
Whether you're a new customer or you've been an existing product user.
And then you can have a relevant path, which is more relevant path, and you put them into the product path through them to basically use the product. That's how typically it works, right? And very, very important thing is, Ramesh, right? You should just not shy away from showing your competition on the product.
What does it mean?
Meaning, when basically, let's say you're signing up, give them option to import data from your competition products if they're using already. Using, right? That way they understand that, hey, they kind of get the confidence that if they see the most important way or the most easiest way to build confidence in the new user is to show their existing